Oh, I hate this little pop-up. Does anybody else get that like this meeting is being recorded thing that shows up?
Yes, I hate it too.
Ugh. Like, yes, we heard it, and now I need the pop. Well, I guess it's for the hearing impaired. So it's all good. Welcome to a special episode of Inspirations Beyond Disabilities, the academic edition, as I've been calling it in my head forever. I'm Jay. I'm your host today, but I am not alone. I am joined by an studious group of students who are all suffering through the fall term together. First off, I am joined by my good friend and repeat guest here on the podcast, Marie Zachnoon. How are you today?
I am great. How are you? I'm excited to have this discussion. I think it's fitting. Midterms just ended, so I'm ready.
Yes, and we are all still here miraculously. And I'm also joined by a repeat co-host. I think this is your second or third time on. I'm not sure. Jasmine Matthews, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Just trying to get through with school too.
Yeah. It's always fun thinking about going into school, and the dream is always great, and then you get midway through and you're like, no one told me it was this much work, but it's totally fine. We are getting through. So I want to start off by asking if you guys wouldn't mind sharing how far in are you, what type of, like, are you an undergraduate, graduate, and what are your goals like when you graduate? Like, what do you want to do once you're finished? I want to start with you, Jazz.
So I'm undergraduate right now. I'm in a community college, and
Okay.
so I'm starting my second year. And when I graduate, I'm planning on continuing. I actually recently just looked at another school that I'm thinking about applying to. So yeah, I'm continuing, and my major right now is creative writing.
Okay. So this is more like this is your second year. I believe communities are like 2-year schools, right? So you're graduating in May.
Yes.
Awesome. How about you, Marie?
So I'm a senior in undergrad. I'm a psych major and sociology minor, so I'm graduating in May. Hallelujah.
Uh,
I am thinking about just starting to look for jobs in the disability field right out of college because I've been hearing about some good opportunities. So I might do that. And then if that doesn't work, I do have ideas of like master's programs that I am interested in the disability field, just because that is like what I'm passionate about. So
okay.
I know whatever I do, it will be in the disability field.
So specifically, what particular masters, if you're interested, like you mentioned you wanted to go in, have you like honed on a specific master program yet?
So at one point I said I wanted to do vision rehab therapy. And the more I think about it, I think I want to go broader. So maybe something in like policy. That way I can work in an organization where we are making change for multiple disabilities. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
Okay. And for those of you that don't know, I am also, I'm in my master's degree program right now. I am studying clinical mental health counseling with a specialty in trauma and crisis intervention. My program is 2 years and 9 months long, even though it's been longer for me because of delays. I am currently in the home stretch now. So like them, I am also a potential May graduate. So I am currently in my practicum phase of my program. My internship phase starts in 2 weeks, and hopefully I will be walking down that aisle. And I'm also, like Marie, looking to be a glutton of punishment to go to an advanced degree. So I'm looking at a PhD after this, but it will all depend on student loans because I don't want any more of those. So my question for you all have been is actually, what's it been like in your academic journey so far? So Marie, you're a senior, Jazz, you're a sophomore. What's it been like for you being visually impaired in school? Like both in undergraduate where you are now, and let's even take it a step back, high school. So what's it been like for you, let's say in those two schools? Marie, I'm going to start with you.
The best way I would describe it is a journey. I think it's a journey. I think it's like it makes you grow as a person, because even in high school, and you get used to advocating, but from high school on, I would say it's like you need to learn to advocate. And that's the biggest thing for me. And it was hard in high school because I was like, well, these teachers aren't doing this and this and that. How do I stand up to someone who is older than me, you know, has more authority over me? And so, yeah, it definitely made me advocate more. I think, I mean, now in college, it's way easier to advocate, you know, by law, you know, that they have to provide certain accommodations. And if not, you know, you can tell them by law, you know, you're protected by the law. But I would also say that troubleshooting, you know, it teaches you to troubleshoot. Because and not everything is accessible. The world wasn't built for people who are blind. And that's especially true in school. You know, they build their curriculum that way it accommodates the majority, which is not blind people. But I would say for me, the biggest thing is advocacy and troubleshooting. And I think for me, there was a lot of stress, and there continues to be a lot of stress because of that. And I should be better at, you know, I should be used to this by now, but it still stresses me out when I am, and I don't want to say like being punished for not, but it almost feels like like, okay, because this isn't accessible, you have to like deal with the consequences, even if it's not your fault. And that was always frustrating because like I like to do well in school, and when something prevents me from doing that out of my control, it bothers me, and I need to learn to like let that go. And I'm still working on that.
No, I totally get you, because like my school's online, but like when you have to do things that are like in person, the feeling of like you're being punished because you're different, it's hard to escape that. Like it's something that you find not only in school but in the workplace as well, when certain things are just not accessible. It's hard, right? It's one thing. I like that you brought up the fact that like you know the law and you know your rights in college. There are so many kids that there are so many times I wish in high school I knew that, because high schools are also required to do the same thing, right? They're supposed to, by law, make sure that things are accessible for you so that you have the same opportunities as other students, but they just don't. Like there's something about that. I think that, I don't know whether it's just raising awareness to families or whether it's raising awareness just directly to the student or to the schools, but like something needs to be done in that regard.
Right.
Jazz, I'm going to throw it to you. What's your academic journey been like being visually impaired?
So like you were mentioning in high school, I did have a one-on-one aide, and she mainly helped me like read what was on the board, and then like any papers, because I couldn't read any papers. But other than that, I was independent and everything, and one of my goals was to be an advocate for all the needs and stuff that I needed. And I would say I handled that really well. I was able to graduate and everything. And then even now in college, I still advocate. Whenever like I enroll into my classes, the first thing I do is find my instructor's emails and then email them like a little greeting saying that, hi, I'm so and so, that I need these accommodations, but it's like brief. And then more towards the beginning of the semester, that's when I'll give them like a more thorough, detailed email saying like, these are all the different types of accommodations if they apply. And so unfortunately right now I am dealing with an instructor that is accommodating me but not accommodating me properly. And so I'm slowly trying to deal with that. So at that point it's stressful.
I get that. Like there are the teachers, and I don't know how many you guys have had, or you know, Jazz, if you've had more than one, or if Marie, if you have one at all, but like there's always been in my journey that one teacher who feels like they don't have to accommodate, or
this
they should.
Like second time.
Oh, this is your second time?
Yeah. The first one, this was like so unfortunate. It was when I was in 5th grade. I had a teacher who was just like unresponsive, like uncommunicative. She didn't help me at all. And she knew that I was blind. I mean, I had my cane, and back then I had a CCTV to do all my assignments. But she didn't give me like extra time, and eventually my grades started slipping, and my mom had to like intervene with that and pull me out of the class. So yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
There's always that one, I feel like there's always, and yeah, since grade school, it's sad. Like I still remember the ones that either made you feel bad for it, like, I guess I'll.
Yeah, she did make me feel bad
Yeah.
too. That was the problem.
Or just like, well, I will always remember this one teacher was like, I was in third grade and I was like, well, I can't see this. And she said, too bad. I was like, oh, like,
I wish. Okay. Go ahead.
So yeah, this is my second time, and I'm trying to like right now I'm trying to get like a meeting um with me, my tutor that like just helps me like verbally write down the answers and stuff to any tests, because I think that was like just the plan, the online school plan as far as like taking tests. And then the teacher, and then like the head of the math department, because it is a math class, and I'm doing fine in that class. Like I'm getting like A's and stuff, A's and B's, but like he's just being an ass. He's not accommodating.
It's funny because it's always, I had a math teacher that did the same thing. And basically, like when I had like untimed testing, they would make me like take a desk, because we had like, I don't know if you guys ever seen like the desk. Well, they're not the desk with like the chair attached to it. It's like an actual like physical desk with like the front you had to lift up. So like the seat was one spot and like the desk was another spot. And I used to have to take my desk and like push it out of the classroom and sit in the hallway to do my tests until like everything was done, because they felt like if everybody would look over my paper and try to like read the large print. So like every single test day, like I would have to move a desk out of the classroom. And it was just like, bro, you could just like let me move off to the side. Why do I have to leave the classroom? But he was trying to make an example of it because he really didn't like having to make accommodations. He felt like it was too much for him to do, like it was beyond the scope of his job. And a lot of times you get teachers who kind of feel that way, like making accommodations for us is like a bit like of an inconvenience for them, or like more than what they feel like they had to do.
They feel like it's an inconvenience, and then they feel like, we're asking too much of them to do. Yeah. And then it's kind of like in their heads, they're kind of thinking like, okay, why do you need all of this special treatment? And everybody else is doing the same thing, doing
and like special treatment, but it's not. It literally levels out the playing field. Like that's how I see it, because my biggest pet peeve, and this never happens anymore, but I feel like in grade school, middle school, that's not fair to the other kids. Oh, really?
What's not fair to the other kids?
Let's blind the other kids, and that's fair, right? Like not fair to them. Like,
I mean, there is two ways to level the playing field. If we did blindfold everybody, then we're all working on an even playing field.
Yeah. But I want to talk about what you were saying, Jay, about putting a student in the hallway. Like that's happened a couple times. And I feel like as a kid, like you feel so just like, because as kids, I feel like you want to blend in, you want to fit in. Yeah. And like that to a kid literally singles them out. Like that is the definition of singling out a kid and making them feel like they're different in a weird way.
So go ahead, Jess. No, go ahead.
So that has happened to me like a couple times, but it wasn't necessarily like the teachers didn't want to accommodate me where I had to sit outside and do the test. It was more like we couldn't find a room, because sometimes we'll go like into the library if it's like any concern with having to read out the problems. But other than those two times, or those two instances, I'm in the class with everybody else. I read Braille, so all of my stuff is in Braille. So there is no way anybody can cheat off of me. ...
I don't understand what that means. How did you guys take your SATs? Like, did you guys have to like get separated to take your SATs? Because I know for me, like they took me like completely out of like where the testing site was, and I had to go somewhere else to do it.
Yeah, it was a classroom that I went into, and I was there like all day.
Yeah.
And I do get like time and a half, I think it was, when I was in high school. And so, you know, you're going through like each section, but it was painful. SATs are painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you, Marie?
The same thing. Yeah, I was taken somewhere else, and it took forever. It was awful.
Fond memories. So, are you prepared for the GR? Do you have to take the GRE to get into your next program?
Depending on what I want to do for my master's, because right now I'm thinking about just starting to apply because there are some jobs I'm looking at that only require an undergrad. So I start working and then go do my master's in a couple years.
Yeah. Yep. So one piece of advice I can say, take a break before you go. Because master's level work is like, if you think the reading is ridiculous now in undergrad, master's level reading is like, how do you read this all like in 1 week? Like you can get about 200 to 300 pages of reading per class per week. So if you're taking like 2 classes, you're pretty much reading like War and Peace every single week. And then you find out later on that everybody doesn't read every single thing. Like I didn't know that at the beginning, but like they heavily encouraged you to read like everything. And it's a lot. It is a lot, which is why I want my PhD, but like something is just telling me that like burnout is real. And come graduation, I'm going to want to take a break. So I might do that.
So that was
And
sort of like me with because so I had to switch over to reading Braille in books. And so when they were first teaching me Braille, they teach you like they skip like every other line, so there's like a solid blank line in the middle of the text, so it's easy to read. And so when I switched over to books, everything was like line after line after line, and it just looked like a bunch of Braille. And then I would get headaches because I'm trying to read everything and I'm trying to read like where the answers are. And then I started getting headaches and everything. And so I had to just like learn that I don't have to read all of this. I have to like skim by titles and stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes go ahead, Mar.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say sometimes it's just find the important stuff, know the important stuff, know the key things, and then kind of like the filler. Because sometimes, like I know, for example, in say like what class was that? Theories. When I took theories for like therapy, right? They would tell you like not only like who started the theory, but they would give you like the history, the background, and then how it works. And all my teacher really cared about was like how it works. So I'd be like, you know what? There's like 45 pages of history here. If she doesn't care, then I can come back and just read this at my own like leisure. But right now, to get this assignment that's due in an hour done, like let me just go ahead and read the important stuff and then come back. And I've had to learn how to do that at times because like even though I'm screen reading, like I use a screen reader or text to speech, like your brain after a while just goes, I can't take any more information.
Fried.
Yes. So it's just like sometimes you just have to go into the important stuff and kind of leave everything else alone.
Yeah, like I'm a Braille reader as well, but when I'm reading, especially if it's like a long chapter or text, I'm using text to speech. Like I'm not about to sit here and read with my fingers for that long. Like that's not realistic, especially if you have assignments due, and that's just a lot. You got to do what's most proficient, and that's listening.
Yeah.
So like for me, it depends on what I'm reading because I do like reading books in Braille, but it depends on what it is. Because I feel like if I'm reading stuff with text to speech too much, then I'm missing like important information that I need. And then I keep having to go back, and like try to listen to the information again. And sometimes it's just a lot and overwhelming.
So do you have either of you have a specific like technology hack that you use to kind of get through school?
Oh yeah. My favorite is the Braille Note Touch. What I love about it is it has Braille, but it also has a screen reader built in. So like if I want to listen, I can listen.
I'm trying to get one of that too. Like I think like next week I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, it's really good. Jaws, I use every once in a while. It's not my favorite. I kind of feel I want to get like better at it, but my main source is the Braille Note Touch. But like I have practiced with Jaws, and I have a computer with Jaws on it. It's just not right.
Jaws is a thing to learn.
What'd you say, Jay?
Jaws is a thing to learn. Like right now, I'm getting lessons. Like I bought a computer from Computers for the Blind like in January, just for the sake of like getting my hands on Jaws for the first time. And I'm like, I love it because my only alternative was Microsoft Narrator, and I can't stand that. If you listen to it for about 5 seconds, you'll be ready to throw anything at your screen to get it to stop talking.
That's how I feel about Jaws.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. So I like using Jaws, but like it's the voice. It's so robotic-y, and I just hate it.
Did you change it? Because you can change the voice. Oh no. I know exactly what you mean. Well, all right. So when I first started using Jaws, the voice was like, okay, so I knew about Jaws for like years, because when I was in like middle school and like late elementary school, I went to a school for the blind and visually impaired, and Jaws was around back then. I had a friend who used it, and it was literally the same voice. Like this same voice has been with Jaws since like 1995. And I'm like,
and it hasn't changed.
But so the thing that they did was, and I did not know, because I was going to give up on Jaws just off the sheer, like, I can't stand this voice. And then I found like, hey, Jaws has expressive voices. I'm like, it does. And then I found one.
Expressive voices.
Oh goodness, I can't do it because if I unplug it, it'll unplug my microphone. But like, I have Jaws on this laptop right now. This is my Computers for the Blind laptop that I'm using. And the expressive voice, it sounds so much better to listen to. So much better. And it just makes it easier to use.
Okay, so I was at the California School for the Blind once for like a summer program, and it was like a Google experience thing. And try being in a room with like 15 people all using Jaws and all using the same exact monotone voice. It was torture.
No, because all you can hear is antivirus. Like no.
Especially so when it's like
yes. So that's when I get up and I kindly go into my teaching mode. Do you all know that Jaws has different voices, and that you don't have to listen to this terrible one all the time? Because that's
why I love voiceover.
Awful. But voiceover,
I think I'm just used to voiceover. Like, you know, when you've listened to something for so many years, like I actually had voiceover probably since I was like,
that's 12, the thing too. I don't use the regular voice.
It's been over 10 years. It just sounds like natural to me. It sounds like anyone's voice.
They improved voiceover's voice, because I remember when it first started, it was not the best. Like a lot of these voices, when they first started in like the like early 2010s, they were awful, but then they slowly got better over time. It's just a matter of, so Jaws has done a good job of like updating its voice, unlike Microsoft, which is like, I don't see what's wrong with the standard voice. But like they've done a better job of making voices easier to listen to, because they know people are listening to these things all day. So from what I was told, because I got a person that I'm working with now, who deals with like, their job is accessible technology. They rank it as Jaws, then voiceover, then there's there's one
NVDA?
There's one between voiceover and NVDA. I can't remember the name of it. And they were like, there's like 7 of them. There's like, if there's like a 50th place, then there's narrator down there. And I'm like, okay, fair. But like, I'm trying to learn Jaws better now, because Jaws seems like that thing that like, had I known about it, it could have probably saved so many days of like eye fatigue. But like, screen readers are a huge thing for me in school, especially when reading, because like when I was going into my master's program, that's all they would tell me is like, you're reading all the time. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I can't keep up with that.
Oh yeah.
And then fortunately, like my school, because it's online, our books are like EPUBs. So they're like digital books. So like it has a built-in text-to-speech reader into the book. And I was like, oh, that is great. And then the books that they don't have that are that aren't digital, you can buy off Amazon and Kindle. I think it was like 6 months before I started my master's program, actually started making their books like text to speech friendly. And I was like, that's better. And now I've found that if you have a book on Kindle, if you have a Fire Stick, the Fire Stick, all you have to do is just tell Alexa through your
Oh yeah,
Fire Stick to read the book to you.
you posted
I
a
was
video.
so
Yeah.
happy because I have so many Kindle books I had to stop reading because like my eyes had adjusted and I could not like sit there and read all day anymore. But like now that Alexa will read it to you, oh yes. But yeah, that's my typical that's my usual hack. Like if you're going to start school, like please either get a braille display or get a screen reader because it will
Or both.
or both or both.
So like for me, like all of my English assignments, yeah, it's also a lot of reading too. Or not too much, but it's still a lot of reading. But I get all of my documents like in a Word doc, so I can just have voiceover like read it quickly, and so like I'm not trying to hassle with where do I need to get the book and everything. Like they'll cover that for me.
Yeah.
Word docs, because like I have no usable vision. I know blindness is a spectrum, everyone's different, but I have to use, like, I can't see, so like PDFs don't work with screen readers, don't work with braille, so Word docs are like what they need to do.
So
Actually, I found a
hack
thing
for
where
that.
you can
Convert it.
read PDFs though.
You don't need to convert it. There's an even better hack. I
Ooh.
promise you.
Please share.
What's
Open
that?
Microsoft Word,
Uh-huh.
open the PDF. Word will convert it for you.
Okay.
Unless the only way that it won't do it is if your PDF was nothing but a picture to begin with.
That's what, yeah.
So those don't do it, but like
Right.
So
every other,
I did
like,
some research about that, and I found out that PDFs, the only type of PDFs that work are called like OCR PDFs.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And then I also explained to like my instructors, like if you have a PDF and you have it in Word, like at least have it typed first in a Word document and then converted to a PDF, because if it's like a scanned image of the paper, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I've been trying to explain that to teachers for so long. Like, please don't just put a picture on a PDF document.
Yeah.
Because it will just say image or it will skip it completely. And then you're like, I don't know what that thing said. But yeah, that's speaking of that. Speaking of challenges, I want to know for you, what is your personal biggest challenge in your academic journey so far? Jazz, I'm gonna start with you.
Not having my accommodation goals met. That's the biggest one.
Okay. Marie?
I would say inaccessibility, and that goes for websites, maybe like technology they're using in class, or we're going to use a database. So yeah. Okay. So what's the biggest Jazz, what's the biggest challenge that you have? Like, what's the biggest accommodation? Better yet, have you ever had an accommodation turned down? Just flat denied?
Yes.
Which one?
So I actually recently I had to ask my instructor if I can have, or if I can take the quiz in the class, and then you know, he wants like all the steps and stuff because this is the same math class. And I had my Braille typewriter. I typed the problem down because he read it in class. I'm participating in everything, and I texted him in the chats. Do you want me to put this all in a Word document and send it to you? He says, no, you're gonna have to wait until the next day for the tutor to help you with the test or with the quiz. And it's only one question, and I got it right. So if he just like flat out turned that down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Maria, have you ever had...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
But I wanted to add, like Marie was saying about the inaccessibilities for websites, because I also remembered that too. I worked in, two different classes. I worked with two different websites that say they have accessibility settings. And one of them actually sent me a link for all the different types of accessibility features that they had. But when I went on the website to try to adjust those features, it was more like for people who had more vision than I do, which I can't see screens at all.
Yeah.
Like contrast and stuff. And there was like specific activities on that website that I had to do for credit in the class, and I couldn't do it because it didn't work with screen readers.
Yeah, there are some websites that will claim accessibility. Why can't I talk today? Accessibility. And the thing about some of those websites is the accessibility that they're talking about is not for us, like at all. And I mean, like with any, like whether you go from like usable vision, non-usable vision, the accessibility is not for us because they built their site to have like so many. Have you seen the sites that have like so
Pictures
many
and
ads
stuff.
on it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's like no narration and captions. There's like no nothing, and the picture relies so much on, like the site relies so much on that.
Also, I think what didn't work with my screen reader was there's something called live live photo, what is it? It's like a live photo activity or whatever. It's like an image and stuff.
Yeah.
And I literally, like when I tried to do like this little assignment, there was literally a message that came up that says screen readers aren't supported for whatever this was.
Yeah. And there are a lot of, I think the ACB is like really trying to work on making sure that those things are more accessible than they've been. Marie, what's the challenges that you faced on the website?
On the websites, so I would say I hate Blackboard. I hate it.
Go ahead.
I'm so glad I'm not using Blackboard.
Go ahead, because I use Blackboard. Go ahead.
Do you use like Zoom text, or do you use a screen reader with
Screen
it?
reader. It's a nightmare. Go ahead.
Not use it. It's so bad. Literally it jumps from thing to thing. Like if I'm trying, like even if I press like the shortcut keys on JAWS, like links, trying to get to a class, it jumps. It's not reading everything on the page, and I have no usable vision, so I can't look and be like, okay, I'm gonna move the mouse here for like if it's not reading. So I just can't use it, period.
So with Blackboard, I've experienced basically that you have to hit the down arrow once you like. So for us, we've hit the like I'll hit the link that I want, and then I'll have to keep hitting the down arrow to get it to actually, because like you'll hit tab and it'll like it'll jump from like the header to like the next available link. If you hit up, you go all the way back up through like the actual text, and then you just have to hit down to like read it. So it's weird, but it's annoying.
Then like getting you to the classes, not even like reading a document, like getting to your course and getting to the documents you need. And everyone sets up their Blackboard page different.
Yes.
So it's a nightmare.
Yes.
I'm so glad I'm not using
Trust me.
Blackboard
is not something you.
I'm using Canvas. That's what my stuff is on.
I've never used Canvas before.
It's so much easier, honestly.
So
I have no issues with Canvas at all.
I wonder, because my school's changing over some things. I wonder, probably not. Probably not. All right, so let me ask this question. Marie, I'm gonna go to you first, and then Jazz, I'm gonna throw it to you. You were put in charge of your school's accessibility department. You get total autonomy in doing whatever you want to do to make things better. What would you like to see done?
Get rid of Blackboard, please. And one. Number two, include disability when you're talking about minority groups, when you're talking about diversity, because we're the most diverse people. That's number two, which my school has gotten better at. After we started a club on campus spreading awareness about disabilities, we've gotten better, but still they need to be better at that. They need to make their freaking buildings more accessible for like wheelchair users.
Yes.
And I think there needs to be braille on more things, like pop machines and stuff like that. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like the online databases. That's the biggest struggle for me. So just making sure that even our library base, our whole library base for screen reader users, nightmare. You can't like get articles, like research articles through the library base. It's so difficult because most of them aren't HTML. Like most of them are the PDF pictures that you can't see. So you have to literally like go at the abstract, or not even the abstract, like read the title, be like, okay, this is good or this is not, and make disability services convert it for you. So you can even check if this is a good enough article.
Ooh, that's a good point. So you have to have disability services convert your stuff too.
Yes.
How long does your school have like a quick turnaround, or is it like a slow one?
Yeah, we have a really good coordinator, so it's good.
Okay.
I haven't research class where we've had to use the library database in a long time, knock on wood, which is good. So I've just used more accessible like websites, and that's been okay. But
Okay.
yeah.
Jazz, you're given the same power. What do you do?
So I would also add like more accessibilities for websites, because that's really important. I've noticed that a lot of classes are using like a third party website to like for grading and stuff, for extra practice and everything. So having more accommodations for that. I would also say like any pictures, if it's like on websites or like if it's on apps specifically like school apps, learning apps, for images to have alt text. And then this is kind of like not necessarily for like a specific class or anything, but like if there's an app that easily converts PDFs into like an OCR PDF or like a easy Word file that doesn't have like missing text or anything, because all of the ones that I tried to use were crap. They didn't work.
So for me, I'm changing everything format wise. Everything now goes digital. Everything now automatically has to have, because my school has shown that if you want to make it accessible, and I'm talking about textbooks are now digital completely. We're getting rid of the paperback option. We're going to go digital so that it is friendly for those with sight issues. It's friendly for those with hearing issues. Like if you can't read text to speech, it's also going to be cheaper for students, because every tuition is bad enough as is. Prices of books should not be adding on to that. What I would love to see happen is for PDFs, Jazz, I agree with you, with PDFs, OCR only. If you send out a picture PDF, it is automatically rejected because most materials have to be reviewed at most places. I agree with you, Marie. I want buildings to be more accessible for those who are in wheelchairs, for those who have canes, who have to like use like not our type of cane, but like the other type of cane, so that you don't have to like navigate steps. Like I'm making it so that that's not a special accommodation. I'm making it so that that's the norm throughout school, because I think if you make it more normal, you would probably increase your enrollment rate, because I think a lot of the times some people refuse to like go into school because they're afraid that their specific accommodation won't be met. So if you have a school that shows more willingly and more openly, like, hey, this isn't a special accommodation, this is our norm. So this option is automatically available for you so that you don't have to track down, because not every school's disability services is the best. I could say my undergraduate schools was not. I didn't know they existed until senior year, and by then it was just way too late. But like if you have it so that like people don't have to track down disability services or always have to stay on top of disability services, you might have more students who are blind or visually impaired or of any impairment want to actually enroll in school.
Yeah.
So if you had to give a piece of advice to someone who's considering going to school, like before you start, before you fill out financial aid or enroll, Jazz, what is the one piece of advice that you would give?
Contact the disability office, the accommodation resource center if you have one, your instructors early, because it's going to save you a lot of time trying to get all of these accommodation goals met. And if you have to sit down with your team and tell them exactly what you need and how they can work for you the best way that they can.
I like that. Marie?
Stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself the whole time, always in life. But that doesn't, go away in school. That's especially true.
Never stop advocating.
Advocate, stand up for yourself. Because you're your best advocate at the end of the day.
And in some places, you're your only advocate at the end
Yep.
of the day. So,
and sometimes nobody's going to advocate for you.
Yeah.
Or, well,
Yeah.
not sometimes, many times.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I would probably tell people is that there may be some blowback as far as like people wanting to resist, but go all in on advocacy, mainly because if they will stop wherever you feel too afraid to go. So like they will stop doing for you the second they feel like you're too afraid to ask for something, the second that you feel like this is too much, or the second, though you know it's reasonable, and someone gives you some small pushback, they will stop because it's easy to stop. It's easy to have you swept under the rug until you mention your rights, until you mention the fact that you'll get the media involved, because no one wants that kind of PR that, your disability wasn't accommodated because, the school chose not to do it. Right. So always advocate for yourself. I agree with that. I agree with that one a lot. What would you like to see? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, because my thought for this question is pretty much, what do you think outside of like academic institutions, like as like change, like social change, do you think could possibly be put in place to like, I guess, level the playing field for not just like college students, but like high school students or middle school students or even elementary school students, because they're starting out in their journey and they're learning about all of this. This is just kind of a throw up question. Give you a second to think about it. Like, what do you think in terms of social change would you like to see happen for students who want to actually go into school?
So, oh, go ahead.
I just think like having a more accessible world, period. Like just thinking about accessibility in everything we do, in laws, in people building structures, in everything, in every point of life, just thinking about accessibility and keeping that in mind, I think will go a long way. And just considering the whole when we think about not just education, but everything in between.
I like that. Jess?
So I would say, like you mentioned, people in kids in elementary who are starting off, to have like services like mobility, O&M training, and then even Braille, because I know some people who haven't learned Braille and regret it, especially because their vision is declining.
Yeah, that's me.
So learning Braille, and then like any other like little services that would work, because I also hear from like other friends, they say that like their VIs are kind of strict as far as what would work for them, even though they're not the ones who are losing their vision, they're not the ones who are going through the struggles and everything. So I would just have like more flexibility with whatever you need to help you.
So did you guys get O&M in school?
Yes, I did.
Marie, did you get O&M in elementary school?
O&M, well, I fought it and I'm really freaking stubborn. So I did, but then I was like, I don't need this because I had a lot of vision, but I did need it because I didn't have perfect vision, but I was really stubborn. So it was like on and off.
So you did the thing I did. Okay. Yeah. I remember I used to have way better vision than I had now. And it was just like, I felt awkward using a cane and still being able to look at everybody like, hey, do I put my head down? Do I turn my head
kind of
side
felt
face?
awkward, even though I couldn't really see people that much. like the first time, but then I'm like, okay, I'm actually gonna take this seriously, because at that point my eyesight was decreasing already.
Mhm.
And when I went into like, I don't know if it was kindergarten or first grade, like immediately I started using CCTVs, magnifiers, binoculars, when I went on my O&M trainings and stuff like that. So I already started doing a bunch of stuff. So um by the time when I had to learn a cane, I did feel awkward about it, but I was like, I got it,
Mm.
because it's not going to improve.
So what was it like the first time you used your cane in school?
Mine was when I was in fourth grade, was when I started learning it.
Okay, so you started learning it in the fourth grade. Did you start like utilize? Because I know, for like for me with O&M, I started my cane because I started at my blind and visually impaired school and in the fourth grade as well, and that's when they started being O&M training. But I never utilized my cane. Like once O&M training was over with, that cane went away. I didn't want to see it. But did you start utilizing yours in school, like once you started your O&M training?
Yeah. So actually, I think it was third grade, now that I'm really thinking about it, when I
Mm.
started. Because I had O&M training prior to using the cane, and it was just for like seeing street lights, or like seeing street signs, or like addresses if I'm trying to go to my house, or a friend's house, or whatever. And so they were teaching me how to do that. And then the cane was just added by third grade, and I would learn how to use the cane. And they taught me the different cane techniques and everything.
Okay. Marie, now I know you started O&M. When did you actually have to like utilize the cane in school, or did you
Yeah,
have to utilize it in school?
I did. So basically, it was on and off, and then it was more on. Like I actually had to like they forced me to like do O&M in like
Mhm.
probably fourth or fifth grade. But just like you, as soon as it was over, I like folded it and never used it. I'm like, screw that. But then in sixth grade, I went to a bigger school, and I think my TVI knew that it was closer to like when I would lose vision, because like
Mhm.
my sight loss, was when I was 14, 15, around early teen years. So they're like, okay, you got to use a cane. But I was like, okay, whatever. Like, you can't make me. So I would but they were like so strict. They'd be like, they would tell teachers, like, because I went to a regular like public school. They're like, if you see her like not using her cane, like tell me. Like, she was so serious about it.
Oh
But
wow.
I would like play limbo with, like, me and my friends would like hold it and play limbo with it. I was like, I'm not doing this shit. Like, no, you can't make, like, I got in trouble so many times. But I think then in eighth grade, I just was like, no, I do need it. And I think it was because I was like losing a lot of vision, and I was like, you know what, like I need this. I just kind of gave up on like arguing. So eighth grade, completely, like I always used it, and high school, obviously, like I was like, there's no way I can even, like, I just felt unsafe at that point. And I think the reason we pushed back, I mean, I know it's for me, I don't know about you, Jay, is like, we didn't need it at that point of our life. But then when you do need it, that's when you're like, okay, like I'm accepting of it because I physically need it for my safety.
So I didn't accept mine in school at all. Like I completely went, and I have so many like bad stories because I refused to accept it in high school or in college. Like I didn't take mine on full time until I was like an adult. Like I was almost, no, I think I was actually over 30 when I finally accepted it, because it was just like, it was one of those things. Like in high school for me, the type of high school I went to was like a neighborhood school. It was a little on the rough side. It was way on the rough side when I got there, and then it got better. So I was like, nope, this stick is going to make me a target. Nope.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a school for the, like, I went to a blind and visually impaired school from like fourth grade to eighth grade. So if I had to implement it, it should have been then, because everyone would have understood it. And most of my classmates had one. So it would just been like, okay, well, it's just a thing. But like, I went to a regular, like, public high school where like nobody's used to seeing this. Nobody's like, I'm like, nope, I ain't about to make me a target out of here. So like, if I walked into somebody, it was, I'd always look around like, yeah, I did that on purpose. Like, you shouldn't You shouldn't have been standing there. Yeah, that's it. Like it was always so like, it was so much like fear with it. And then in college, it was, I didn't take it on in college because like my college that I first went to, because like I went to Temple University for like a year here, and then I left there and went somewhere else. And it's just like, I didn't want to be seen as the guy who needed help, because in high school, like I had like what we called an itinerant teacher. And I swear, like every time I seen her, I ran from her.
Yeah.
Because I did not want anybody to know. Like
Yeah.
I was senior class vice president. I was like top 5 graduating in my class. Like I was seen as somewhat normal at that point.
Yeah.
Like even though I was weird and like I walked into things, like I was seen as somewhat normal. And I would see her and it'd be like seeing the police and
You're
you
like,
knew
bye.
you did something wrong. Like, hey guys, so I'm in school, and then you just see them like, oh God, and it's just like run. And then like I would go meet her in the library, like down in the basement. Like I was like snitching. I was like, hey, hi, yeah. No, I don't need anything. I'm good. I'm okay. It's fine. And if
You're all
she ever
fidgeting because you know you've done something wrong.
yes, and you're trying
like,
to make sure that none of your friends see you with this random teacher that everyone knows does not work here. So it was always so much to try to like be quote unquote normal that like I think had I adopted my cane when I should have, I would have probably gotten some harassment for it in high school, but I think I would have had way less embarrassing moments in high school because people would have just known. Like, imagine walking into like the edge of a locker door and then trying to explain that you're not high. Like you just walked into a door because you couldn't see it, right?
Yeah. I think it's like, we try, like this is how I was, at least. It was like, you try to do anything you can and make any excuse you can to not use and use all the vision you have. But then one day it's like, and I don't know if what people's vision level is, but at one point in your life, it's like you physically like can't. Like I'm at the point where it's like, even if I wanted to not use my cane, like I physically could not because I don't have anything at this point, and it's so easy to like to not, because I did the same thing when I did have usable vision, where I'm like, okay, I'll run into a couple things, but who cares? I'm a klutz.
Yeah.
But then you get to a point where it's like, no, like I physically can't.
Like I'm going to die if I take a few steps without this thing. Yeah. So like I know for me, like the worst, I don't know how your school's like assemblies were, like how they set those up, but like I know for me in like high school, like assemblies were like, our auditorium was just dark. No matter how many lights they turned on, it was just dark. And it was one of those things where it's just like, I know if I take a step this way, I'm going to step onto the stage. I know if I step this way, I'm going to step into a person, and I'm just going to stand here. Like, I don't care if I'm just standing in the middle of the aisle and the assembly is going on and I don't know where my class is. And I'm just going to stand here. There was times they were like, we had a balcony and nobody was supposed to be up there. And I just sat in a balcony because I didn't want, like, my teachers knew I had a visual impairment. So like they were fine. And my closest friends, they knew, but like the school at large didn't know. And I didn't want people to know. Sometimes getting that special treatment was uncomfortable. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I also wanted to mention, and this is like off topic, I don't know if we were going to talk about it later, but like, I also like to focus, because there's a lot of like crappy professors and teachers and educators, but I also want to give a shout out to the really good ones, because we remember you. I remember them more than the crappy ones, and they go above and beyond. And like, I have one this semester, freaking love her. She, like I literally, cause I had a rough like start to my semester, and it wasn't because of her class, and literally her class was perfect. Like she literally would send me notes, like disability services didn't have to do anything for that class. Like she was on top of it. And I'm like, thank you so much. I just appreciate you. And she's like, well, that's how it should be. Like, you shouldn't even have to like, like she's just amazing. And, does not give me stress, which I appreciate.
So I have somebody right now that's doing the same thing. It's actually my internship supervisor, like my site supervisor. This lady is like, she is somebody where like, you ever go into a place and you're like, I'll accept whatever they give me and I'll just try to make it work to the best of my ability. So I made the mistake of telling her that. And she was like, oh, hell no, that is not how we're going to do that here. She was like,
See,
you're going to contact HR. She's like, no, you're not. I'm going to contact HR. I'm going to put in here. She started like copying and pasting the ADA law. I'm like,
oh my God.
There needs to be more people like that.
And she was like, I got you. And I'm like, you're putting your, like, of course, I want to work here when I graduate, but I'm like, you're putting your job on the line, like putting this much flack out to HR and the corporate for an intern. Like she's like, I don't care. Like this needs to be put in place because what if you're not the only one? Like, what if somebody else wants to come in? Like, what if somebody else after that? I'm like, and I just flat out told her the truth. Like I went into my TikTok, just like rant mode. I'm like, to be honest, they're not expecting more of us to come in here. I am the guinea pig. I am the test subject. I am the kid.
Yep.
She was like,
that's all of us.
And she was like,
all of us are the guinea pigs.
She's like, you're the guinea pig because they refuse to make changes. If they make the changes, you're not the guinea pig. You're the first. And I'm like,
I want to meet her so bad. Tell her I love her. I don't even know her.
Yeah,
that's true. And I feel like I'm the first for this math teacher because apparently he's just not accommodating.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where like once you get past them, because the thing about it is in school, especially the higher up you go, like I know as a freshman there were things I wasn't comfortable enough saying that as a senior I had no problem unleashing to the university.
You just learn, like you just learn how to build up that confidence and then know exactly what you need.
Yeah. Plus, you're on your way out. So if they don't like you, if they don't like what you have to say, like, too bad. Like, look, you can't stop me from graduating at this point.
I was thinking about that like a couple days ago. I'm like, okay, my freshman year, I probably had to be fake to people. Like, whatever. Like, there's this one lady, like, at one of the dining halls. She's just so awful. Like, I'll literally, like, be like, she'll hand me something. And I've told her several times, like, and it's a small school. She like, they know me. Literally, at that cafe, they know me. I'm like, I'm blind. Okay, when you do that, I can't see. And I'm like, you know what? I'm literally going to give her attitude. Like, I know that's not good, but I don't care at this point. Like, I really don't. And if people are going to be that stupid and piss me off that much, like, I'm not going to be like the fake sweet, like, oh, I'm sorry. Can you please blow? Because at like a certain point, it gets ridiculous. Yeah. Like, don't, just basic stuff. Like, obviously, you don't expect them to understand, like, the whole thing. But, like, something as simple as when you put your hand out and don't tell me you are, I can't see you. And like you continuously do that. Okay,
we're just having a standoff here because your hand is out and you're like nodding to me to grab something that I don't know is there. Yeah,
or
that's the same thing with like somebody
thing like with the biggest attitude. Are you ready to order? Like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't say can I help you? Like
that's the same thing that I seen like at school. Like it would be like me, my aide, we're like walking to one of my classes and then somebody sees us and like waves to me and she was like, oh, somebody waved to you. And I'm like, they did. Like they should know I have this cane, I can't see. Like you're just waving at air then.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's just like, if you know me, then you knew that was probably, and I know some people do it out of habit because they're used to like waving the people that they, and then especially in cafeteria workers, because like sometimes the cafeteria worker is just there and they're annoyed and they want to take it out on you because they feel like that you're an easy target or whatever. Like I've had that like with the nasty attitude and the, are you going to order or what? Are you going to say something or what? Like how am I supposed to know you're here? Yeah. Like you're holding. I'm not holding up the line.
Because they think we're easy targets,
right? But the higher you go in education, especially when you've built a rapport with like teachers and faculty and staff, you have that comfort to know that your professors have your back. The administration, like I did something. I got comfortable with the president of the school. Like they let you set up the appointments with the president of the school. I got comfortable with the president of the school. And we just had a good old conversation about like some things that were like bothering me. So I knew if I had to say something, I had the weight of the president's office behind me. Yeah. So sometimes it's just knowing the right people, getting in touch and contact with the right people and making sure that they have your back. Cause like, to be honest, and this is just like, it just is what it is. They don't want the nightmare of the PR of the opposite, right? School refused to accommodate blind or visually impaired students. School refused to do this. School refused to do that. School.
It's not
that
a
is,
good image for them.
it's not a good PR image for them. So you almost have, well, you can get some blowback, but you realistically don't have too much to lose when it comes to like putting yourself out there and speaking up, right?
Because it's their fault for not accommodating us.
It's the school's responsibility to make sure that they do so, because schools, in every school handbook I've seen, we do not discriminate against race, color, gender, creed, orientation, disability, blah, 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 blah. Like they have it, it's always in the first 3 or 4 pages, it's somewhere in there that they say we do not discriminate. You're coming to them and saying, prove it.
Well, apparently they always skip over those 3 or 4 first pages.
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunate, but make sure it's, I feel like sometimes it's going to be our job to make them do so. It's going to be our job to make them.
It is, because we have to always accommodate for ourselves. It never stops.
So does anybody have any final thoughts on their journey in school? Anything that they want to leave with anyone who's considering going to school, anyone who's considering taking that next step in their education, but they may be a little afraid to?
No, I'll just say it again. Advocate for yourself. You're your best.
I was literally going to say that too. It's just, you just have to advocate at this point. You have to have connections. You have to stay in connection with people. And you have to physically like set up your own accommodations team, accessibility team that will support you and back you up for people who do not want to simply accommodate for you.
Yeah. And it's so good and powerful to have those connections, like make connections with professors, make connections, not even if you don't have a disability, that's just good for like networking. Yes, it's so nice. And you feel more supported. Like, I feel like I can even go to a professor and be like, I'm stressed in this situation. What do you think? I mean, I haven't yet in that, but I feel like I could with like certain professors. Like, oh, this is something I wanted to add. Having those connections, like there's this one professor. Okay, so we had like a polar vortex a couple years ago. I will never forget this lady. She's freaking awesome. I go in her classes once a semester and I relate guide dog related topics to psychology topics like operant conditioning and classical conditioning. But before I even had that connection with her, I had her in a class and she literally emails me and she's like, hey, the polar vortex, like I live in like right by the campus. Do you want me to come help you take your dog out? Because it was like bad out. And I'm like, what a saint. Like, who does that? I mean, I said like, no, thank you. But I'm like, that is literally so sweet of you. Like, thank you so much. Like, there's good people out there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You just have to find them.
That's fantastic. The one thing I'll say as a piece of advice is people can make you feel uncomfortable about how competent you are because of your disability. People will make you feel uncomfortable about whether you should pursue a goal or a dream. They will lie to you and tell you that that school is a mountain and it's almost impossible to get over. And I hope you haven't run across anyone that's told you that. But in the event that you do, or in the event that you did, they lied. They lied horribly. And the proof of it is not just the 3 of us there, the 3 of us that are sitting here who are in school, who are all anticipating graduation in May. All 3 of us are anticipating graduation in May. But other blind creators on TikTok who are also in school, who I also believe, I know Lisi, I believe, is also anticipating graduation soon. There are several others who are in school at various levels, some in undergraduate, some in graduate, and some even in postgraduate. There's 2 right now that I know of that are in postgraduate school. They're getting their PhDs. So if that isn't proof enough to show you that not only can you take that next step, but that you can actually succeed in that next step, then I don't know what else to tell you, because we are out here doing it. We aren't out here thinking about it. We aren't out here pondering it. We aren't out here hoping. We're doing it. And not only we're doing it, but we're about to get the achievement that we sought. So if you're considering taking that next step, if you're wanting to take that next step, do it. Because the only thing I feel like is worse than fear is regret. Don't look back on this and say, I wish I would have. Take that opportunity. Jasmine, where can people find you online?
Amen.
So, yeah.
Freaking great.
So on Instagram, I'm happily blind with no eyes in the
Still
name.
love that. Still love that.
And then on TikTok, I'm your blind friend 19. Your spelled UR.
Marie, where can people find you online?
On TikTok, Marie Zaknoon, ZAKNOUN 0, or just Marie Zaknoon, it'll come up. And I don't have any other social media besides Facebook, but like if I don't know you, like
Yeah.
yeah.
And you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at the Baritone Blurred, because I'm also on Twitter, but I barely do anything on there at all. So TikTok and Instagram, the Baritone Blurred. Thank you all for joining us on this special Saturday episode of Inspirations Beyond Disability. We appreciate you being here, and we will talk to you in the next episode. Until next time, guys.
Beautiful.
How do you stop the recording?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop it. There you go.
All right.
I didn't know if you wanted to, Ezric was like, check the chat because I made some great comments. And I was like, yeah, but no points that weren't like general.
I didn't even look at the comments. I was trying to I was going back and forth, like reading the questions I had written down. I'm like, okay, we covered that question, so don't have to ask that. Covered that question, so we don't have to ask that. But like,
You did great.
I appreciate you guys for coming on. I appreciate y'all for all of the delays, because school is crazy and about to get crazier. I know for a lot of us.
Yeah, it is.
When is your you guys got finals coming up? Well, no, your finals are probably in December, right?
Yeah,
Right.
we have finals in December.
I got finals in 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Study.